They tell you that death is like falling asleep. They tell you it's a fading out, a dimming of the lights. But they are wrong. Death isn't a fading out. It is a waking up. It is the most violent, beautiful, shocking moment of clarity you will ever experience. My name is Susan. I am 64 years old. For 30 years, I was a high school history teacher. I dealt in facts, in dates, in things that could be written down in textbooks and memorized. I was a rational woman. I trusted the news at 6:01 p.m. I trusted my doctor. I trusted that if I followed the rules, I would be safe. I am telling you this because the woman I was before that Tuesday doesn't exist anymore. She died on a kitchen floor in Ohio, and the person speaking to you now is someone else entirely, someone who has seen what lies behind the curtain. It happened in the middle of a mundane afternoon. That is the first thing you must understand. The apocalypse of your life doesn't wait for a dramatic storm. It happens while you are making tea. I was standing at my kitchen island. The house was quiet. My husband, Bill, was in the garage tinkering with his car. The television was on in the living room, playing a 24-hour news cycle. I remember the anchor's voice, urgent, panicked, talking about inflation, about supply chains, about the latest threat to our way of life. I felt that familiar knot in my stomach, that low-level hum of anxiety that I had carried for years. I reached for the sugar bowl. That was the last thing my body did on its own. A sound like a thunderclap exploded inside my head. But it wasn't sound. It was pressure. It felt as if the atmosphere of the room had suddenly condensed into a solid weight and crushed me. I didn't have time to be scared. I only had time to think. This isn't right. My knees hit the hardwood floor. I remember seeing a dust mote floating in a shaft of sunlight, dancing there, perfectly still, while my heart stuttered and stopped. The darkness was instant. It wasn't black, though. It was a void. A silence so absolute it felt heavy. And then, the pop. It felt exactly like a cork popping out of a champagne bottle. A sudden release of pressure. I opened my eyes. I was standing near the ceiling fan. I looked down. There was a body crumpled on the floor. It looked like a pile of laundry. It was wearing my blue sweater. It had my graying hair. I stared at it with a strange lack of emotion. I thought, that poor woman, she looks so tired. It took me a second to realize, that is me. But if that is me, who am I? The panic should have set in then, but it didn't. Instead, I felt a rush of euphoria. The arthritis in my hips? Gone. The worry about my pension? Gone. The constant noise of the television? It was still playing below me, but the words meant nothing. They were just static. I saw Bill run into the kitchen. I saw him drop his wrench. I saw him fall to his knees, screaming my name. "Susan! Susan! Oh God, no!" I floated down to him. I tried to touch his shoulder. My hand passed right through his flannel shirt. I felt the warmth of his grief, a physical heat radiating from him, but I couldn't make him feel me. "I'm okay, Bill," I said, but my voice wasn't sound waves. It was thought. "I'm right here. I'm not in that body. That's just the shell." He couldn't hear me. He was dialing 911, his hands shaking so hard he dropped the phone. I began to rise. The ceiling dissolved. The roof dissolved. I was rising into the sky above my suburban neighborhood. And this is where the story changes. This is where I stopped being a ghost and started being a witness. I looked down at the earth. I expected to see the trees, the streets, the cars. And I did. But I saw something else overlaid on top of them. It looked like a grid, a dark, pulsating gray web that covered the entire town, the entire state, the entire world. It was thick and heavy, like a layer of smog, but it was alive. I saw lines of energy rising from the houses below. I saw people watching their screens, arguing, worrying, fearing. And I saw that energy, that dark, jagged energy, rising up and feeding the web. I realized with a jolt of horror, We built this. I was moving faster now, pulled by a force I couldn't resist. I was leaving the Earth, leaving the grid behind. I was moving toward a tear in the fabric of the universe, a golden slit in the darkness. I wasn't just dying, you see. I was being recalled. I crossed the threshold. There was no tunnel for me. It was more like stepping from a freezing cold room into a warm bath. The transition was instant comfort. The light was not blinding. It was clarifying. On Earth, we see light reflecting off objects. Here, the light came from the objects. Everything was alive. The space I was in was vast, limitless, filled with colors that I don't have names for, colors that you can hear and taste. Then, he was there. I say he, but it wasn't a man. It was a presence, a towering consciousness of gold and white light. If I had to put a name to it, I would say it was a guide or a guardian. But those words feel too small. He didn't speak. He didn't have a mouth. He communicated through what I call knowledge blocks. Instant, total understanding transferred directly into my mind. He knew me. He knew Susan. He knew the teacher, the wife, the worrier. He knew the secrets I had never told Bill. He knew the resentments I held against my sister. And he bathed me in a love so fierce, so total, that I wept without eyes. There was no judgment, not a shred. There was only compassion. You are tired, the thought block came. It wasn't a question. Yes, I answered with my soul. I am so tired of the noise. I am so tired of being afraid. The being moved closer. The light intensified. You were afraid because you were looking at the illusion. You must see the truth now. He turned my attention back toward the Earth. From this distance, I could see the planet spinning. I saw the gray grid again, that web of fear and control I had seen as I left my house. Watch, the being said. I saw the systems of our world. I saw the banking institutions. I saw the political capitals. I saw the media conglomerates. To us on Earth, these things look like fortresses. They look unbreakable. But from the perspective of the afterlife, they looked like dry, dead leaves. They were brittle. They were hollow. I saw a vibration hitting the Earth. It was a new energy, a high-frequency light coming from the center of the galaxy. It was washing over the planet like a tidal wave. Where this wave hit the gray grid, the grid began to crack. The reset, I thought. The word floated into my mind from my old life. I had read about it, heard people whispering about conspiracies, about governments planning to control everything. The being corrected me instantly. No, he said. What you fear is the shadow. What is happening is the light. The systems are not being destroyed by men. They are collapsing under the weight of the truth. I watched as the institutions on Earth began to shake. I saw the near future. I saw a period of time where money didn't work the way it used to. I saw supply chains halting. I saw the internet flickering and failing. I saw people wandering the streets, looking at their phones, screaming because the screens were blank. I felt a surge of terror. Is this the end? I asked. Are we being punished? It is not punishment, the being replied. It is a detox. He showed me that humanity has become addicted to a system that feeds on our anxiety. We have given our power away to structures that do not care about us. The collapse I was seeing, the thing that looks like chaos on the news, is actually the breaking of the chains. But here is the hard part. Here is what I need you to really hear. I saw that for many people, this transition was terrifying. They were so attached to the normal, to their status, their comfort, their routines, that when the grid cracked, they cracked with it. But I saw others. I saw people who didn't look at the falling buildings. They looked at each other. I saw neighbors sharing food. I saw people gathering in gardens, not out of desperation, but out of a sudden realization that this was how we were meant to live all along. I saw that the Great Reset 2.0 wasn't a political takeover. It was a spiritual restoration. It was the earth shaking off a fever. The being paused. He wanted me to understand the mechanism of it. He wanted me to understand why the dark grid existed in the first place. And that is when he gave me the revelation. If you are listening to this and you feel heavy, take a breath. Just stop for a second. What I am about to tell you might make you angry, or it might make you cry, but it will free you. The being expanded my mind. I suddenly understood the physics of the spiritual world. The revelation was this: human attention is the most valuable currency in the universe. The grid, that gray web of control I saw suffocating the earth, it doesn't run on electricity. It runs on you. It runs on your fear. It runs on your outrage. It runs on your feeling of helplessness. I saw it happening in real time. I looked down at a man in New York watching a news report about a war. I saw his fear spike, and I saw a stream of energy leave his body and feed the grid. The grid got thicker. The man got weaker. Then I saw a woman in a small town. She was ignoring the news. She was sitting on her porch watching a bird build a nest. She was feeling peace. She was feeling gratitude. I saw a beam of light shoot out of her chest. It hit the gray grid above her house, and the grid dissolved. It burned a hole right through the control system. The being spoke to me, his voice resonating in every part of my consciousness. They do not want you to know that you are the battery. If you withdraw your attention from the fear, the structure collapses. I realized then that all the noise, all the panic, all the breaking news is designed for one thing: to harvest your energy, to keep you looking down, to keep you small. I felt a wave of anger. Why? I asked. Why are we kept in the dark? Because a waking species cannot be controlled, the being answered, and you are waking up. I saw that we are entering a time of choice. The vibration of the earth is rising. The old systems cannot hold this new vibration. That is why everything feels so chaotic. The old world is thrashing because it is dying. The being showed me my role. He showed me that my 30 years of teaching history were not an accident. I was someone who understood timelines. I was someone who understood that empires fall. You must go back, he said. The peace I was feeling shattered. No, I said. I felt like a child. I don't want to go back. It's heavy there. It hurts there. My body is broken. Please, let me stay. I looked at the light. It was so warm, so inviting. Why would anyone choose to go back to a world of taxes and sickness and lies? You must go back, he insisted, gentle but immovable. You must go back because you are a frequency holder. He explained that when the collapse happens, when the reset truly begins, there will be panic. People will think the world is ending. They will need people who are not afraid. They will need people who know that the falling structures are just a shell cracking open to reveal the pearl. Tell them, he said. Tell them not to cling to the shore. The tide is going out. Tell them to learn to swim. I felt the pull of the earth. It was like a magnet turning on. I felt the density of the physical world grabbing at my ankles. I tried to fight it. I tried to grab onto the light, to anchor myself in the love. But the mission was more important than my comfort. I had one last look at the being. He wasn't saying goodbye. He was saying, "We are with you." I began to fall. Down through the stars, down through the atmosphere, down into the gray web. I saw my house. I saw the ambulance in the driveway. I saw the paramedics working on the body that looked like a pile of laundry. And then I hit the wall. The return was brutal. There is no other word for it. It felt like being sucked through a straw and slammed into a concrete box. I gasped. A jagged, horrible sound. My chest felt like it had been kicked by a horse. The smell of the kitchen floor, dust, floor wax, old coffee, assaulted my nose. It was so offensive compared to the purity of the place I had just left. "We've got a pulse," someone shouted. A stranger's voice, loud, aggressive. I opened my eyes. A paramedic was looming over me. He looked frantic. The room was chaotic. The peace of the other side was gone, replaced by the frenetic energy of emergency. I tried to speak. I wanted to say, "Stop. It's okay. The grid is breaking." But my tongue felt like a foreign object. All I could manage was a groan. I was hospitalized for 2 weeks. They called it a massive cardiac event. They put stents in my arteries. They gave me pills to thin my blood. They treated the engine, but they didn't know the driver had changed. When I came home, Bill was so gentle with me. He treated me like glass. He turned on the TV to my favorite channel, the news. "Turn it off," I said. He looked at me, confused. "But Susan, you always watch the 6 o'clock." "Turn it off, Bill. Take it out of the house. I never want to see it again." I couldn't explain it to him then. I couldn't explain that the television looked like a portal sucking the life out of the room. My life is different now. I don't teach history anymore. I don't worry about the future. When I see the headlines about the economy crashing, or the new virus, or the political unrest, I don't feel fear. I feel a grim satisfaction. I know what it is. It's the shedding of the skin. I spend my time in the garden. I put my hands in the dirt. I talk to my neighbors, really talk to them eye to eye, heart to heart. I am building the network of light that the being showed me. I am writing this because I know many of you are scared. I know you feel the ground shaking under your feet. Please, listen to me. The Great Reset they threaten you with is a ghost story. The real reset is the one happening in your soul. Do not give them your fear. That is the only weapon they have. When the lights go out, light a candle. When the banks fail, rely on your neighbor. When they try to divide you, choose love. You are not a victim of these times. You chose to be here. You are the stabilizer. I am not afraid to die again. In fact, I look forward to it. I look forward to going home. But until then, I will stand here, in the garden, holding the frequency, watching the old world fall and the new one bloom.